You're live. You're live. You might be live. Okay. You might be able to talk. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm wearing this hat to cover my horrible looking hair instead of the felt one this time, and kind of a boring autumny shirt, but whatever. Excuse me. So this week, I know this is a day or two early-ish, because it's not Friday yet, and I don't. I don't always post the videos on Sundays. Sometimes I do Thursdays, hoping that people will see them over the weekend. But of course, we had a holiday this week, and nobody watched my previous two videos because they weren't about boots, I guess. So wishful thinking. Personally, this is only the third installment in a 12-week series, but I haven't worn the boots every week, as I've explained, and in the earlier part of the challenge, I swapped out a bunch of boots and was showing photographs instead of doing videos. So if you haven't seen in the community menu, I've shown photos of the boots per week-ish, that kind of thing, without going deep into the wear and tear aspect of it that a video would need, because you don't get a lot of wear and tear on a boot in a week anyway. So, I'm kind of modeling this after Bootlosophy or whatever, his videos, and I don't know how he has the stamina to make one every week about when he's only worn 3 pairs of Chelsea boots to the office and he shows them anyway. I couldn't do that every single week. No, not enough to show, not enough to report. And this week, things narrowed down even further because I ended up driving more than usual. And then the one day I was not doing anything because it was the holiday or whatever. And I don't know, maybe I took a walk or something. I don't remember. Anyway, the one day I had kind of a long drive for no good reason. And I did end up bringing back the Keen boots, which are not in the thumbnail. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I had said I was going to shelve these, and we'll talk about them first instead, because I did wear them twice now this week so far, and probably won't wear them tomorrow, but maybe Saturday. We'll see. If anything significant happens, I'll put it in the community menu, or I'll put it in the comments of this video, since most people won't watch this video until Saturday or Sunday anyway. It won't matter that much. I don't know. We'll see if I get any traction, pun intended, tomorrow or not. This being, again, not quite midnight yet here. So anywho, the reason I had shelved these primarily was because they have the waterproof lining, and we didn't get any rain, but I decided to wear them anyway because I have other boots that claim to be waterproof that I would rather test out in a rain situation for the sake of this channel, even though on a personal note, which shoes I would wear if it was actually raining and I actually had to do something apart from, collecting data, would depend on the circumstances, because I wouldn't want to wear this to every situation. It's called a work boot, but it looks more like a hiking boot. But this is the Keen Kansas City work boot. So for those of you who missed the previous, and it does have kind of a sneaker tread almost, in this kind of almost odd back angle thing going on. So you're not scraping the heel as much, but I'm not used to walking in them as much because they're more spongy than the heritage boots that I've been wearing most often, kind of thing. So again, kind of more sneaker feel. Kind of driving on this was kind of sticky to the gas pedal a little bit and kind of chunky, but not as bad as sometimes when you get something like this, the lip can get caught on the brake when you're trying to go back and forth on the pedals. Obviously, you don't really have that with this. Just a kind of a bulbous toe a little bit. Not necessarily what I think we would call a wide toe box, although they are a little bit wider. I don't think I bought these in a wide width. I think these were a standard width, so I don't remember. But anyway, so they have the little panels, and like I said, hardly any wear and tear. I mostly wore them driving. I wasn't walking that much in them. I actually took these for a pretty long walk the one day. I did walk a couple hours in these yesterday, more than the previous times I wore them. But yeah, like mostly I was in the car, so you know, not not a lot of wear showing yet on the things. Like I said, this is kind of these. On the other hand, I wore these for a little over an hour maybe today. I didn't rotate them with these like I had done in previous weeks, where I'd take a little walk in these, then come home and put on these and take another walk and kind of compare the way they feel. I ended up doing that this week because, like I said, one day I wore those, a couple days or 2 days, a couple days I wore these, whatever other things. These I did a little bit of yard work with them, and I kind of wished I had worn the taller ones, but I wanted the wedge sole specifically to not track mud and such into the house or whatever, and so they got kind of some use, but they're not, you know, they're not the most stiff, and they're not as tall for the ankle support that I kind of wanted when I'm going on kind of mushy terrain and that kind of thing. You can see there is a little bit of wear, a little bit of wrinkling. Again, the bottoms have a little bit of extra dirt and mud now that they didn't have last week. But literally not a lot of extra wear and tear on them because, again, that was like an hour. And so I'm showing them anyway in their detail as much as I mean, you can see where they squish though. I mean, they're not. That's where, like, you know, if I was doing actual logging more than just, you know, trimming a bush or something, you might want something that's a little more rigid, even though they complain, oh, they're like casts, plaster casts when you first put them on. And something like this was a little more rigid when you first get it, but I've, you know, worn them around the street enough times in the last couple of years that, you know, they are starting to show some of that distress without, they don't have any, oh, I guess I should have showed the other one too. I mean, they don't have any holes up and around the collar area and that kind of thing where stuff usually starts to really wear. And the heel counters, again, comparing to the Golden Fox, they've held up actually pretty well considering. Which one was I showing? I don't remember. I think I was showing the right one. I think that's correct. Anyway, for what it's worth. So yeah, a little pull tab that they absolutely have no use for on a boot this short, I think, and a little bit of wear up in the toe. Yeah, the left one a little bit more wear than the right one. A tiny bit of wear in the heels, mostly from asphalt again, but they're not gone at an angle quite yet. The one is a little more angled than the other, maybe a smidge. But, you know, and the welts have held up, even though everybody complains, oh, plastic welts, plastic welts. Well, I'm not doing anything too strenuous in them, so the plastic welts haven't been an issue, that sort of thing. And again, the foam on the interior of the tongue, and then a thin suede flap, and then a sort of a gusset. And again, this being not quite as much lacing as I would like for a little bit more secure fit, but you're not typically hiking hills and mountains with this kind of thing. So once I get in them like today, I kind of took them off right at the point where I'm usually starting to really get used to them. So it was kind of not really fair. Usually takes me about 30 minutes to an hour to kind of get used to switching back and forth between shoes and shoes and shoes and that kind of thing. And so this time I just went straight to these. And like I said, did a little bit of actual work and that kind of thing. And then didn't want to wear them in the house much because, you know, I didn't want to get too much dirt. So the star of the week, we're trying not to make this too much of an endless video because we're already at 10 minutes, ended up being the Wolverine 1,000-mile. Again, I've modified these and put a different outsole on the front, but the heel cap is the standard one that comes with it. Little bit of use. Again, starting to get that angle, starting to wear a bit at the heel, but haven't used them a ton in the last bit, but they are starting to get some scuffing. And these wrinkles, I could probably put shoe trees in them, but I didn't think it was really necessary since there's a Celastic or whatever toe insert. So if I wanted to reduce this wrinkling a smidge, maybe a shoe tree would help that. But and I'm not treating them as like entirely disposable boots. The outsides are getting a little more crinkly than the insteps, as you can kind of see. The right shoe is more rigid than the left shoe, so I'll show you that in a minute. And then, of course, the speed hooks. Haven't cut the laces. They still have the thin, regular, dressy laces in them. So I haven't had an issue with that. Like I had that other pair of Caswell ones that I still need to get somebody to go through with a metal file and clean up one of the speed hooks that was sawing the laces off. I don't know if I'll get around to that this year. I'll probably wear a different pair of boots for the holiday season. But of course, this, you do have the speed hooks damaging the tongue pretty consistently. I mean, after the initial wear, it's not been too terrible, but that is kind of an annoyance that they use these really kind of sharp. If I can see, I mean, you can see them on both sides. Whereas the eyelets are not sharp, just the speed hooks. So again, if you're getting these, you might want to remove the speed hooks and replace them with eyelets if that's within your budget, and maybe leave the top speed hook or something. That usually I don't even tie a boot all the way laced to the top, but these ones I've been doing it. I've been going up all three. Like I said, this one may be a little less scuffed up, but it does have a couple extra creases. You can see the creasing, not just out in this area, but also back here, where I don't think a shoe tree would do anything about that. And the one thing about these that I don't care for is they do seem to have some kind of bumpy consistency in the leather past the sock liner or whatever that half liner is. You can, I don't know if you can see any of that. So I don't know. I wasn't sure if that was my sock or if I was feeling that with my foot, but I think I'm feeling that with my foot. But the outside of this left one has really started to collapse, and there's nothing a shoe tree will do about that. So, you know, just normal wear, but why this one so much more significant than the other one, don't know. So that's my real report, is just showing that. And it's not really Chrome XL lottery thing, I don't think. It's because it's not that epic, you know, in terms of feeling like the grain is really, you know, separating terribly, significantly. Just for some reason, that left one is maybe the way I walk or something. It's pulling it to the side or something. And I don't think I have too much of an odd gait or whatever, but you can see that this maybe has a tiny bit more wear, so maybe I walk a little more on the left than the right. I'm not sure, but I think the right is actually more worn down now that I'm looking at it. So yeah, I think you're seeing a little bit more wear on the right heel than the left heel. A tiny bit, not a lot. I forget which. I know one of my legs is a little bit longer, but I forget which one. But not significantly. Like my hip shows it when I wear certain like high-waisted things. You can see there's a bit of an angle, but it typically doesn't affect my shoes all that much. They wear pretty evenly, I think, overall. So take that with a grain of sea salt and vinegar, whatever. So yeah, so that's kind of how they're aging. If that's normal or not, I haven't polished them. I haven't conditioned them. I really don't think these need that much. Like, I think these would need it more sooner. I feel like the tops of here, I brushed them recently, end of last week or the beginning of this week, I forget, but somewhere in there I actually did brush this to see how it would react, and just a dry brush. I didn't, do anything. I do have the NYX wax that they sent. I have a few things of that, and I was going to maybe apply that to this and one of the pairs of Nick Packer boots soon. Maybe not yet, but soon. But I thought JK sent me that oil, and I could not find that. And I know that's something I would have put somewhere like in the garage where I knew if it spilled, it wouldn't get on anything important. But I just can't find it if I have it. I don't know where it went. But I wouldn't want to put something like that on this because I think that would darken it. I think it's kind of a black base, like an inky kind of color. Anyway, here's your grain again. See, again, this is, pretty standard wear with this type of leather. I don't think that's really an issue. I saw a video, a guy was really complaining about something like that with a bison and saying that the bison leather seemed to be performing incorrectly, but he was trying to get a real stiff boot more than it, and it's even floppier than this. It's like, yeah, it's bison. It's the whole point is that it's thin and tough, not that it's super thick and, again, like cowhide, like the PNW brands typically use for work leather. I think it may be a work leather, but I would think it's more of a show, maybe hiking leather. I don't know. The pair I got, I definitely didn't plan to make those my most rugged boots. I definitely wanted them to look kind of badass more than purely functional. Like I said, if I was getting the purely functional, I would. I already had the other 1964 leather or whatever they call it. This, of course, being the, it's technically a heritage boot. It's technically a service boot. It's technically a work boot. It's technically an army boot. But these days, it's more of a dress boot. But it's more of a casual shaped dress boot. It's not a very fancy dress casual boot, And it has speed hooks again instead of eyelets all the way. So take it for what it's worth. I don't know. So yeah, you got a little bit of sweaty interior and you got a little bit of this and that. So I don't know who would watch all 20 minutes of this, or if I'm forgetting to mention anything or show anything, you can let me know in the comments. Like I said, this is just an update. What boots will change in the next 4 to 6 weeks in regular standard common usage, I don't know. I'll try and use the Packer boots again for sure, and maybe I'll condition those. And again, these kind of became the default because I put the Golden Fox ones on the shelf for now, and I did, since October is over, I did get out the Thorogood round toe, but I did not wear those yet. And I don't know if they were on the other list or not. I'll have to go back through the other video and copy all that in a minute. So if you're watching this live and reading along in the comments and there's nothing in the comments, well, or the description, I should say, give me a minute. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try and answer, legitimate questions as best as I can about boots and boot companies. Again, here we're literally looking at 2 boot companies. We have 2 Wolverine and 1 Keen, so pretty narrow focus this week, but that's how it goes sometimes.